And there's another bonus as well too. Is like if you Tempest with it, sends the cards back. But talking about backing and bottoming cards, let's get into the game and see how that's actually going to be looking for
Let's
us,
do it.
right? So it's just going to give us an idea as to how these happen.
Big part, honestly, for this game is going to be who's going first. If
Yeah.
Eva goes first, that is double critical obfuscates, one or two, while your opponent's a grade 2. If
Uh huh.
Youthberk goes first, that is Tempest. Or not Tempest, sorry. Just doing. No, that is Tempest. Sorry, was the whole appeal of Tempest. You can do an amazing ability while your opponent's a grade 2.
Yeah. I see it. I see it. So now, oh wow, Eric is okay. I thought, okay, so I misunderstood completely. I
Oh,
thought
no. Eric is playing Youth.
He's playing youth. I thought he was playing Eva. He felt like an Eva person to me.
So,
Science concoctions.
so here's the backstory of how we got here.
Okay.
Eric and me are staying together while on this trip while I'm
Uh-huh.
casting while he's playing, and our buddy Echo is our chauffeur. He's our taxi man for the trip. And
our
it really,
Jeeves, as it were. Yeah.
exactly. Jarvis. Anyway,
Uh-huh.
it really came down to Echo has Eva and Youth. And it was the question of which one do you want to play, Eric? And Eric said, you know what, Youth.
Oh.
He could have played Eva today, but he chose Youth. And yeah, he hasn't played a lot with the deck. I don't believe he had a chance yesterday. I kind of occupied him. So he's gone into the tournament fresh playing this deck. So it's got him this far.
I mean, he's doing wonders with it currently because he's like X and 1 right now.
Yep. He lost his first round. And that's it.
Wow, complete reverse sweep here. That's
Uh,
wild.
We were joking a little while ago. That's the excuse of, yeah, you needed the wrong round to understand how the deck runs.
It can be a pretty intricate deck sometimes.
Like right now, he's activating the top 3 ride line ability and
Yes.
deciding what to call. Like he's got some good options. I see a Tempest. I see a Youthberk. He can add a Persona right to hand and just prep himself for later turns.
I think adding the Persona Ride might have felt stronger to me. I like Persona Ride overall because I feel the other targets are a little bit easier to find,
Hmm.
right? And plus, you can always discard it later.
Not to mention, he's also going first, which means he's got one turn where his opponent's going to do Evo, and then he can Persona right. It'd be
Yes.
kind of the opposite if the opponent went first, because they have a grade 3 turn
Uh-huh.
while you're a grade 2. So Persona right in hand kind of feels like a brick.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's probably one of those situations where it does. Here is obfuscated, being discarded. They can get back to that deck to. They can get that back to the deck whenever they want to anyway, so that's fine. They can also get it back from the drop zone back to hand, so that also helps as well.
Overall, now that you have 2 forms of Obfuscate, it doesn't feel that bad discarding. I mean, you never want to
No.
discard it. You want to try to keep it in deck, honestly.
Definitely.
But hey, it doesn't feel bad. You have 8 targets now. Go. Looking at the deck list for Eva, it is very much your cookie cutter. But I'm sorry to say that Obfuscate's staying in drop.
Really, he does not run the.
Nope. He's got the nice new set 8 monster in here, the Violos, the whole Soul Blast to draw card.
Oh.
But I do not see the little monster to put stuff back.
No, he doesn't play that one because, like, back in before this was released, people and I think people still do, is that you would play a couple copies of the grade 1 that would allow you to send your obfuscates back and recycle them over and over again.
Some players have started playing 1 because Eva's biggest potential is the fact that she can find pieces extremely easily. You got more than enough draw, twin drive, and especially Eva's own ability, the fact that you can just cannibalize 1, look at an X number of cards equal to the number of cards in your order zone.
Yes.
With the grade 1 researchers existing, that's literally on turn 3/3. So it's really easy to find pieces. So people were taking in one card of that, maybe 2, just for that option of, maybe I do want this grade 3 obfuscate in my deck so I can have a double crit, or this grade 2 obfuscate again, or stuff like that. But at the same time, I can kind of understand this list because you have 8 targets, and it doesn't even need to be from deck. Like, Eva's ability is deck or hand, and with the grade 1 research, you can countercharge Soul Charge and put it back to hand and still get your 4 attacks. It's not from deck. You're minusing a card in hand, technically. But hey, it's still doing Eva.
Oh my
Hello.
word! So first we had a twin drive of double nothing. Now into a Tempest, revealing double grade 3, and now
Yeah, that double grade 3 is a little bit early. I don't see any options on board yet.
Yeah. And then Wayfaring Angel coming in for 15. This is going to be another 10k guard here.
I gotta admit, I love what Unsub's doing, trying to stay as low damage as possible. We saw that the previous game with Minerva, and how we talked about Minerva saying it's low damage. How that honestly could be a strategy. Youthberk can get this. Youthberk can get some stupid numbers, especially on a Persona right turn.
Yeah.
To where if you're a low damage, doesn't matter what kind of numbers you have, it's 1 damage.
And like even trying to make it a one to pass it's usually a dream, Not even
Hold
a
up.
possibility.
Hold up.
Oh?
I'm seeing a error in the matrix.
Oh, what's up?
This is our second research order on turn 3.
Oh.
Something does not seem right.
Oh, I think
Did we miss one in between?
they might have forgotten to activate the order.
It is unfortunately no other word for, but it it is a misplay because Eva's whole ability ride line is get an order.
Yeah.
Like you can't really whiff it unless you really have all orders. But at the same time, if you have all orders in your hand, you're not whiffing in that point. So I think we just forgot on turn 1 or turn 2 just to play an order.
And sometimes that tends to happen with the research orders because you're not really paying attention too much to when it's happening. It just like you sometimes just lose track of it. So we do have a Persona right turn here. No kind of blast up because of course you attacked into the rear guard here.
This is gonna
Denying
be.
him it.
I mean, you at this point you really don't. You've done your tempest turn. You've built your hand. You've put some pressure because they did have to guard those previous attacks. As long as we can see the witch, which unfortunately I don't think we do. This is still a gust turn where you just push. It's a Persona ride. You can go into gust. We know he has another gust in hand.
The unsub here is thinking about how they're going to deal with this. This might be a take. It's going to be 18. I like this a whole lot from them. Trying to keep guarding as much as they can, where they can.
This happened to me so many times fighting against the youth. You just take the Vanguard.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just can't.
You can't
gamble.
afford to.
You have to take the Vanguard. Whatever happens, happens.
Does put Ansab on 3, but this is still a safe amount of damage. Even if he gets crit here, he's okay.
Like Eric's hand looks extremely healthy.
It does.
He's still at 1 damage. Ansab's one game plan, which is a really hard game plan in all honesty against youth, might be to try to deck him out. But at the same time, like trying to deck out a youth, like that's still 2 turns where he's doing, 4 attacks, drive checks, a lot of stuff.
Right, it's going to get plus 10. This is now 33 plus 1 drive, trading in that crit trigger for the potential of driving into another one.
See a PG and Ansab's hand, and I can see the struggle of do I PG this or do I not PG this, because this is the mentality going through this. When you have an opponent with a 1 standing rear guard, it's one of those things like, if he hits a trigger, it doesn't matter what I do, the power or especially the critical is going somewhere. In this case, it was not a crit trigger, but still, that power still went to that other gust on the rear guard, and this is swinging for 33 again.
Thinking whether or not he can afford to guard it here.
There's the OT.
Like he chose that option.
Maybe a Persona ride to kind of help. Nope. But hey, 3rd research, and honestly a good one. There is 2 obscurates to our knowledge out. One's in damage, one's in drop that he ditched. So finding that grade 3 for another double critical unit is going to be a little... Oh, there it is. Never mind. We're gaming.
Looks like we already have one with a crit. Now we can search for another obscurate with a crit, or they could go for a grade 2 obscurate and mop up that front row a little bit, because we did see in early stages of the game so far, Eric needed to commit a lot of rear guards from his hand to the board here. Extra copy of a grade 3, a grade 2 he couldn't use the ability of. A lot of resources he ended up losing here.
Eric's in a very interesting position right now. He's got a healthy hand. He literally just needs to look at his hand and go, what am I doing next turn? This. How much resources is it going to take? This. All right. That's how much damage I take. That's it. Because he can honestly just let a lot of these attacks slide, being at 1 damage, and just guard what he needs to put himself at the resource margin he wants to.
All right, he's going to call down a little helper here.
All right. I see a CB.
Got him
3
blasted one for
orders.
Eva ability. It's gonna look at the top 3. It's gonna add one. I think they're adding a PG here.
Yes. I mean,
That's
it's just good. It's
yeah.
free real estate.
Yeah. So now they're gonna be using Eva skill.
So, Eva gained 5K from that. You got a nice combine rusher with 20. Swinging with a double crit first. I like the idea.
The 3-2 crit makes it 28. Stop that attack.
20K. It's kind of hard to say. Putting yourself in the player's shoes is really hard sometimes because they have a better understanding of what's in their hand, what's in their drop, what have they seen, what have not they seen. Eric chooses the guard. I think he's just gonna gamble on Eva, and whatever hits.
I think that's his option he's gonna be going for here. Like if his opponent hits like a double crit, it doesn't put him in that very dire situation.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
Always exists the crit OT.
Well, he did guard with OT the turn before.
Oh, true. Never mind. Ye old, since the dawn of Vanguard, you could always flip 2 crits.
Yes.
An Obscurate and Eva. Never mind.
Double blank. Turn right. He's like, oh, come on. This is going to be an upscalate turn with a crit. He's contemplating whether or not he wants to give him the extra layer of damage here. He's going to go for it. Eric guard. How do you feel about guarding here? Do you go to 4? Do you keep the 1?
If I could easily guard this, I think I would. There's not many effects in Youth that require CB, which means you can work with 1. Especially if you can still do your Youth per turn. What you do, you're always going to do. It just comes down to then your opponent's turn. Like, he can then do obfuscates again. He can have double crit obfuscates again. Staying at low damage, taking the attacks that he can take, and guarding the attacks that he can't, is just overall good. Oh, hello. You remember this great one?
Yes, I remember it. A couple rounds ago, we saw it's going to Soul Blast 2. Any trigger effects they gets plus 5k power.
And he activated it twice, which means trigger effects are now 20k.
Okay. All right, Eric, I see what you're going for here.
I mean, I'm not sure, but hey, maybe Eric's a fan of the new Hex Orb. He wants us to play it a little bit early.
Aquamarine coming through.
But this is really dangerous now. Like, deck thinning has been happening. He's got 20k from triggers, and I see the Witch on the board. If he's got a Gust, that just means, 4 drive checks. The first 2 were blank, but, being on sub, you got to be on that side going, this could happen. This can be either 80k to the board through 4 triggers, or he can just whiff everything, but it's still, what do I do?
Yeah. Contemplating how he wants to do this. Currently allotting some of the power here.
I'd target if, let's see, trigger, nothing. Oh, you want to hear a spicy move?
What?
Since this technically is Echo's deck, he has enlightened me on a spicy maneuver that Youthberk is sometimes mandatory to do. So Tempest's ability is reveal the top 2, and you are mandatory to choose one of your opponent's triggers that matches the grade of that card. If, in these cases, like you saw, double triggers, you can hit 2 triggers, why not just throw the OT down?
Oh.
Put my OT back to my deck, please.
That is funny as heck. Because the only thing I've ever thought about with doing any manipulations with OT is because there is the grade 2 Pentacast Sorceress or Octare. No, it's Octare Sorceress. You can Color Blast 2, draw 2, and if you happen to have an OT in your hand, you can send it back to deck and then use Torturous to add your Persona Ride
so that
you shuffle your deck while sending back your OT back. So that's kind of the only maneuver I was able to find out while playing that archetype. So it's really cool of being able to like find cheeky ways of putting back your OT back into the deck. That's really cool.
I mean, not everybody can be like in Lyrical, the Jewel deck where, oh look, I'm just gonna put the OT behind my Vanguard and this nifty grade 3 is gonna restand and put it back to my deck and shuffle my deck. Because why not? Alright, Onsop has put himself in a very dangerous situation, being at 5 damage against Youth. Like, Eric's a 2.
Yes.
Let's be real here. He can tank one obscurate and still be fine.
Eric did make a very, how do we say it? I don't want to call it ambitious decision. I want to call it,
Judgment call?
yeah, a very interesting judgment call by Soul Blasting 4 there for that turn, which I can kind of grasp, but it felt like a very all-in strategy that he didn't need to invest that much resources for.
I mean, if he hit triggers, and it's going to be the whole turn's going to be harder.
Yeah.
But it's a gamble.
Yeah.
And if I can zoom in my eyes, I see 2 cards in Soul, which means, next turn he can do it once. It's still 15k from triggers.
Yeah, definitely.
Not to mention, you want to look at it this way as well. Like, he did get a little bit unlucky. He drove check 2 blanks and then used Tempest and saw 2 triggers. Which is, unfortunately, what can happen with you. Ooh. Grabbing the Eva.
It secures him Persona right for next turn. There is no Bubble Mine to be seen as of yet.
This is where the grade 1 research is such a beautiful card.
I know,
Counter charge,
right?
get my obscurate. So now he's got a grade 3 obscurate in hand. I believe there might be one more. No, there isn't. There should not be any more obscurates in deck, I believe. Or at least a grade 3, to be more specific. There probably is a couple grade 2s, because we see him going through the deck right now. But as far as the grade 3s go, I saw one. I saw one grade 3 obscurate in deck. That's dropped. Never mind. I'm not on my game right now.
Don't worry, man. You're fine. They're contemplating what they're going to be going for.
I think he's contemplating if he wants to use the ability of the grade 3 to search his deck for an order. Or just to swing it at first, 23. I mean, it's not a bad number. It's 23.
So huge to deal with. 8. Blasting 1, counter blasting 1, counter blasting the obscurate.
All right, so we're going into our deck. Let's see if whatever ramblings I did before were semi-right. All right, there is no grade 3 obscurates in deck. I was semi-right. But that's where the set 8 has shown so much potential, introducing that grade 2 obscurate. It's not only just a target, it's also a really good card, because this will just get rid of the entire front row now.
I don't know how he chooses to slice this. Both of these obscurate are coming after the villain. It's going to be 2 to pass. He's going for the intercept here. Very smart way of guarding. It's going to be a 2. He's going to give everything to Van.
Use the intercept while you still have it. It's going to get swung on.
Yeah, exactly. Whether or not you want to or not.
And the best part for Eric right now is the fact that it's 2 to pass. But even if he does gamble and put everything on Vanguard, as he did just now, it's only still 2 damage. He goes to 4. Like, he's not in a position where 2 to pass, oh, you put everything on Vanguard, you gambled, I lost. No, I'm still in a secure position.
Counting that column, that's 15, 18. How much does our little helper here get? The grade 1?
The grade 1? 5K, yep.
5K. Wow.
If you have 2 set orders in Order Zone, or 2 researchers specifically, he is a 13K body. And on top of that, with Obscurate gaining 5K on his own, making himself a 15. Like, that's just good numbers in a column. And the good part about the new grade 2 Obscurate, just like his grade 3 counterpart, he's a 10K interceptor.
Oh, it's so good. 20K shield for free on the board right now for him.
I love how Eric's contemplating what to do now. I don't think I've seen him use much of Youthberk's ability in the previous turns.
Well, looks like he's going for it now. He's counting, ruminating on the numbers, doing the addition and subtraction.
I see I forgot his name, the grade 2, the Searcher's Revolt forms.
Oh, Schneisel.
Schneisel, thank you. I saw Schneisel in the account, but as you can see, he's contemplating if he wants to call that Schneisel or if he wants to call the Witch. If he goes the Witch route, he gives more drive checks, but he's starting to get close to deck hell. I found that youth players, after like a third youth Revolt form turn, they get to a point where their deck is not existent.
Not too present, no. Let's go to the bottom since he didn't resolve much. He's going to use the skill of Wayfaring Angel, Soul Blast 1. That's a 10k booster, so that column is 23.
So now with one card in soul, he can't no longer use the, oh, I'm going to make my triggers into 5k more.
Yeah.
But it's fine. Like, with the way Youthberk attack patterns happen, he doesn't have to swing with his rearguards until his final Vanguard swing. And that column, because of that great grade 1 that gives us drive checks, is a 10k booster. So that's an 18k column regardless. That's still a magic number.
That's still 10k guard that he needs to deal with. Him being on, what, 4 or 5 damage right now? That's just devastating.
For Eva, 10k guard is probably the easiest thing. You have obscurates. Or, correction, you had obscurates.
This is going to be 2 to pass. First check. Second check, Wayfaring Angel.
Well, there's that persona right Eric was searching for.
Looks like you got access to it. Boom. Going into Tempest.
That's the one thing I do love about Tempest's other ability, or not other, his full ability. You don't have to counterblast to gain the 5k to the front row. So basically, just riding Tempest, you get a half persona right immediately.
Gonna reveal 2. Tempest. And
Hey.
Inoculate. Now that's gonna come in for 18. 1 drive.
I haven't seen him trigger a lot. So my gut feeling is saying we're going to see a yellow right now.
Nothing so to it. Like currently he's cruising. He has a handful of cards. Unsub, not out of the game, because he also has a next turn as well to activate another order.
Not to mention, you got to look at the board state. There's a 1828 column on the right and an 1823 column on the left.
Oh my gosh.
That gut feeling was a little bit different than I thought.
Wow. So we'll bring that back to us in a second so we can talk about that stunning match there just now.
When I said gut feeling, I didn't mean the over trigger.
So wow, that
Sorry.
wow. I mean, you know, things like that happen. I mean, it's been like 4 turns. Like 4 turns, we didn't see Eric drive a single trigger.
We saw him Tempest 2 triggers.
2 triggers, yeah. But he didn't